If there are some items missing on your stockpile, you should try to get them as fast as you can, because things in the global supply chains are about to get really crazy. On the top of the ongoing shortages, rising prices, transportation problems, and the threat of a 1970s-like inflationary spike, companies are also having to deal with external offenses, as a different group of hackers just attacked the system of the largest meatpacker in the entire world, forcing the company to halt all operations across numerous plants, many of them based in the United States. Just yesterday, the White House revealed that JBS SA, a Brazilian meatpacking company that has several meat processing plants in North America and Australia, has fallen victim to a ransomware attack conducted by a criminal organization likely based in Russia. The attack resulted in severe disruptions in production and forced the company to entirely shut down Australian operations and stop cattle slaughter at all its U.S. plants on Tuesday, according to union officials. The company's North American operations are headquartered in Greeley, Colorado, but there are 4 other huge beef plants across the U.S., which altogether handle 22,500 cattle a day. According to Bloomberg, the outage has already wiped out nearly a fifth of the U.S. production, as JBS controls about 20% of the nation's slaughtering capacity for cattle and hogs. In the report, Bloomberg notes that slaughter operations across Australia were also down, while one of Canada's largest beef plants was idled for a second day, according to JBS posts on Facebook by labor unions and employees. Yesterday, the impacts of the attack that took place on Monday could already be seen in the U.S. industry, as American meat packers slaughtered 22% fewer cattle than a week earlier and 18% than a year earlier, according to estimates from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Pork processing has also significantly declined. Analysts are warning that until this crisis is finally put under control, meat and pork will become harder to find at the stores, and prices will likely tick up. The new cyber attack followed just after last month's Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack performed by another Russian hacker group, which disrupted the delivery of fuel and led to catastrophic gasoline shortages across several states of the U.S. Southeast. And now that hackers realized how vulnerable those supply chains are, more cyber attacks will certainly occur. That's what the threat researcher with security company FireEye, John Hultquist, has argued, adding that the supply chains, logistics, and transportations that keep our society moving are especially vulnerable to ransomware, where attacks on choke points can have outsized effects and encourage hasty payments. Meanwhile, the current administration seemed to have taken the cue to intensify tensions within the Russian government. Whether the offenses were incited by Russian government agencies or not, experts worry these attacks may continue to rapidly deteriorate relations between the United States and Russia, and many are quite concerned about where all these growing conflicts will eventually take us. White House spokeswoman Karine Jean-Pierre revealed that our intelligence agencies were investigating the case. They've already warned Russia's government. In a recent statement, Jean-Pierre said that the White House is engaging directly with the Russian government on this matter and delivering the message that responsible states do not harbor ransomware offenders. However, supply chain specialists have been arguing that the coming meat shortage is just the tip of the iceberg. In a recent article originally published by the New York Times titled "How the World Ran Out of Everything," Peter S. Goodman and Neeraj Choksky exposed why the out-of-stock trend isn't going away for the foreseeable future. Over the past 5 decades, global industries have largely adopted Toyota's just-in-time manufacturing system. The automaker pioneered this form of production, which consists in delivering parts to factories right as they are required, minimizing the need to stockpile them and therefore boosting industrial efficiency. And of course, this approach has captivated global business in industries far beyond autos. From fashion to food processing to pharmaceuticals, companies have embraced just-in-time to stay nimble, allowing them to adapt to changing market demands while cutting costs, they wrote. But last year's chaotic events have highlighted to the global industry just how pairing inventories can leave supply chains extremely vulnerable to external disruptions. A single systemic failure can trigger persistent shortages of a wide variety of goods and exacerbate inflation pressures for both businesses and consumers, which leads to bigger losses and tighter profits. Just over the past 18 months, shipping and transportation problems, as well as extreme weather and waves of panic buying, have bedeviled many economies around the world and have resulted in shortages of a vast range of goods, from electronics to lumber to clothing. Most parts of the global supply chain still runs under the just-in-time approach, while on the other hand, perpetrators have become aware of the lack of cybersecurity systems strong enough to protect companies' operations. Therefore, hackers realized they could easily manipulate the occurrence of such disruptions, and in that process they can make a lot of money by extorting key companies around the world. Today, however, they're asking for a ransom, but things can escalate to much more dangerous levels if they ever weaponize their technology to simultaneously launch multiple cyber attacks and spark a major national crisis in America. For now, many of our essential industries are still struggling to get supplies in time, while demand remains heated, which has been forcing prices to new record highs pretty much every week. Goodman and Chokski reported in their article the story of Mr. Romano, the vice president of sales at Van Horn Metz & Company, based in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. He said his business is completely halted until a delivery shipment finally comes in. Romano buys chemicals from suppliers, many around the globe, and resells them to factories that produce paint, ink, and other industrial products. In so-called normal times, he says, the company is behind in filling perhaps 1% of its customers' orders. But in recent days, it couldn't even complete 1/10 of its orders because it had to wait for supplies to arrive. The worldwide shortage of raw materials, in addition to container shipping shortages, has been severely aggravating supply chain problems. But as consumers have been more eager than ever to buy what they want, prices have nowhere to go but up. That's why economists have started to alert the whole world may be at risk of seeing inflation levels spiral out of control. Recently, even Costco executives have been stressing that inflation has become a serious issue across their chains. They're said to be seeing accelerating prices across a range of products, from raw materials to containers, as well as a 20% spike in meat prices over the past month. CFO Richard Galante exclaimed, "Inflationary factors abound." Richard exclaimed this on the company's fiscal third-quarter earnings call last Thursday, saying, "These include higher labor costs, higher freight costs, higher transportation demand, along with the container shortage, port delays, increased demand in various product categories, various shortages of everything from chips to oils, and chemical supplies by facilities hit by the Gulf freeze and storms, and in some cases, higher commodity prices," he added. Galante mentioned price increases as high as 8% across several goods, including pulp and paper, an assortment of plastic products, as well as soda and cheese. Now, those increases are pushing the company to pass on price hikes of 3 to 10% to consumers. Some items are up more, some items the sale prices haven't yet changed, Galante said. So, if your pantry is running low on some items, Try to find what you'll need in the months ahead and buy it if you can, because just by analyzing how the current trends have been unfolding, there's a good chance U.S. consumers will have to deal with even acuter shortages, and they'll be paying much higher prices for the supplies they want if they wait. Some companies have been masking inflation by shrinking package sizes. The phenomenon called shrinkflation is a form of retail camouflage in which people end up paying more for their household staples in a way that actually doesn't show up on receipts. Thinner rolls, lighter bags, smaller cans. The technique is a way companies found not to scare off customers in face of rising costs. Consumer advocates who track packaging sizes forecast that more and more companies will adopt this practice as inflation expands and affects everyday items such as potato chips, diapers, paper towels, and even toilet paper. Consumers check the price every time they buy, but they don't check the net weight, explained Edgar Dvorsky, a consumer advocate, former assistant attorney general in Massachusetts, who's been tracking product sizes for over 3 decades. He says when the price of raw materials like coffee beans or paper pulp goes up, manufacturers are faced with a choice. Do we raise the price knowing consumers will see it and grumble about it? Or do we give them a little bit less and accomplish the same thing? Often it's easier to do the latter. As the cost of raw materials continues to soar, many household brands are expected to reduce the size of their products. When even one of the world's richest men starts to complain about rising prices for raw materials, we know that things are getting a lot worse than most could ever have predicted. In a recent tweet, Tesla CEO Elon Musk was asked why the auto company is raising prices of vehicles by thousands of dollars if it has ditched some key features in new car models. Since last year's second quarter, the auto industry has been plagued by a semiconductor shortage that's not only delaying the production of millions of cars, but also costing billions in lost profits. Musk then responded late on Memorial Day that the recent price hikes came as a consequence of supply chain woes. Musk wrote, "Prices are increasing due to major supply chain price pressure industry-wide. Raw materials especially," Musk wrote. Unfortunately, all evidence signals that these are just the beginning stages of a very big and very complex crisis. Supply crunches, transportation issues, extreme weather, unexpected emergencies, and cyber attacks are just a few of the reasons why prices are being pushed to sky highs. The truth is that the more governments around the world continue to engage in reckless spending policies and pumping piles and piles of money into their respective financial systems, the more they fuel inflation. It's not a problem reserved to the United States, which makes it even harder to get rid of it, because even if we somehow sort out our own inflation levels, this means we will have to continue to buy products at inflated prices from our trading partners. That is to say, this crisis basically feeds on itself, and it only gets worse. We're about to witness the inflationary nightmare so many experts have relentlessly tried to warn us about. And it's safe to say that many other unpleasant surprises will come along the way and trigger a lot more chaos. Look, don't waste your time and start getting ready for the challenges lying ahead before it's either too late or too expensive to do so. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, we have reason to believe you will enjoy Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, the latest book of the economic collapse writer Michael Snyder. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section down below, and please keep tuned for the next video.